गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Today we are going to talk about saving Kashmir in 1947-48, the first war which independent India fought, not only to save Kashmir, but to save its territorial integrity and sovereignty against Pakistan. And to discuss all this with me is Colonel Ajay Singh. First, let me welcome Ajay.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure being out here and pleasure interacting with all the viewers to tell them a story of the Kashmir War. We will get them started
Yeah,
off and whet the interest in
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's very important that we discuss this war. Uh, in the sense that this defines the military history of independent India. It's a start point. And after all, it went over for 1.5 years. We saved Kashmir from the jaws of it going to Pakistan. And this was the first time we came after, we are talking of a time when we didn't have arms, we didn't have ammunition, and we didn't have forces. We were commanded by a British CNC and so many things. And the CNC this side and the CNC in Pakistan were both British. So it is some kind of a fixed match. Those chaps were playing, not allowing us to fight and things like that. And ultimately, it took certain political, stances by our government at that time, Mr. Nehru, and military stances, which led to a lot of success. And of course, history has got its own way of doing things. Probably, if we had not gone to UN and the ceasefire was not there, we would have probably reclaimed complete POK. But then that's a different thing. Let's look to the war, and to all of you who are watching this, I must tell you why I called Colonel Ajay. Because in my circle, he's the only genuine military history expert I know. All of
Thanks,
us
sir.
have read military history. Yeah, there's no doubt. All of us have read history. I also read a lot of history. I read history of the world also. But there's a difference between a person who reads military history and who writes military history, who is a military historian. And that's what I felt Ajay is all about, always. So, and I've always been impressed by the way he can narrate a story. So I'll leave you with Ajay. Ajay, just take on. And I'm going to be a mute spectator today. I'm
Okay,
not
I
going to
thought
even
it's going
talk.
to, yes, we will have a Jugalbandi after we finish. So today I
Yeah.
am, you said, sir, can everyone see the slides? Can you all see the slide?
Wait, I'll just put the slide on. I'll just put the slide on
Sure, sir.
1 minute.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Now everyone can see
Good.
the slides.
Fine. Right, ladies and gentlemen, a huge pleasure being on General Short with General Shankar. I've always enjoyed because, like I said, it's a jugalbandi which we have in our dialogues. But today, since he's given the stage to me to discuss a subject, I know most of you are DSSC aspirants, but don't look at it from the DSSC aspirant perspective. Look at it from the perspective of an Indian and a soldier who needs to understand completely what was India's first war after independence. It was India's longest war. It lasted for 1 year and 4 months. It was a war virtually which has shaped the subcontinent for 70 years thereafter. And gentlemen, it was a war which was literally won by a thread. We could have lost all of Kashmir, or at least most of it, had a few things not played out right, had a few decisions not been made correctly, and the courage and boldness of our officers and men. Right? So Let me tell you the story of how it began. It began actually at independence. When India and Pakistan, as a parting legacy of the British, they created two dominions, and in that the princely states were told to join either India or Pakistan. Right? No problem that most in the Indian geographically are joined India, some in Pakistan joined it, some like Gujarat, like Kutch, Hyderabad, and the other Junagadh were taken over by military force. Kashmir, which was the largest state with an 80% Muslim majority, ruled by a Dogra Hindu ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, that vacillated. Hari Singh at that time thought, now I am going to be an independent nation like Switzerland. He refused to join either Pakistan or India. Jinnah, I mean, both Nehru and Jinnah had an affinity for Kashmir. Nehru being a Kashmiri himself, and Jinnah because this was his favorite holiday resort. And of course, it was a state that was so beautiful, the crown, literally, on our maps, which both vied for. And when Hari Singh did not join Pakistan, they were sure they were going to join it. We got independent on the 15th of August. On the 17th of August, 3 days after Pakistan independence, there was a conference in their GHQ in which they said that since Kashmir is not joining us, we must have a plan to take it over by military force. That plan was a brainchild of a Major General Akbar Khan, who, an incident general, Akbar Khan finished his military career in jail for treason. He planning a coup against his own president sometime in 1956. So it was in his DNA. The plan involved using tribesmen from Balochistan, Waziristan, the border areas or northwestern frontier areas, creating lashkars. He said they will fight a jihad. It was not a jihad. It was a well organized plunder campaign. And each of these, it was a very good plan. Those guys, there was also restiveness in the border areas. The Pathan said we want a separate state. The Baluchis said they want a separate state. So to kind of circumvent it, they said the Muslims in Kashmir are being persecuted. All of you give lashkars. Each tribe will give 1,000 men. They formed 10 such lashkars, each on the lines of an infantry battalion. Each so-called lashkar had a commanding officer of the rank of a major, dressed, of course, in a firan and a sherwani. He had an adjutant. He had 10 JCOs, and they're given weapons, radio sets, vehicles, all on the lines of the Pakistani army. These lashkars were to attack Kashmir, take over Srinagar by military force. Like the line they said, na, Akbar Khan said, we will hit Srinagar, take over the radio station, Hari Singh will shit in his pants, we will declare independence, and Kashmir will be ours. Srinagar was the target. And the plan, Operation Gulmarg, as it was called, was to be launched on 22nd of November, 1947. It basically involved having a main thrust of 6 lashkars heading towards Srinagar. In the south, it had a complementary thrust of around 4 lashkars moving in the Jammu sector. And in the north, around 2 lashkars were there in the northern areas. But the target was Srinagar. And before that, they started a deliberate gray zone warfare, to use the terminology in vogue now, in which they began inciting rebellion, especially in the areas like Poonch, Mirpur, with a very large Muslim population, where the Dogras were in relative minority. When the Maharaja tried to use his state forces to put them down, they said, our brethren are being persecuted. We must wage a jihad against them. We must go and save them. They impose a blockade around all of Kashmir. It's a landlocked state in any case. And on the 22nd of October 1947, the Pakistanis attacked. Their first target was Muzaffarabad, the capital. It was actually the capital. Srinagar, the summer and winter capital was divided between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad at that time. In that, it was held by four Jackalai. Now it's Jackalai. In those days, it was Jammu and Kashmir state forces. It had two Muslim companies and two Dogra companies. Unfortunately, the Muslim companies had been won over. They actually killed their Dogra comrades in their sleep. They opened the border crossing and the invaders poured in into Muzaffarabad. 22nd October. Gentlemen, try to keep the dates in mind. The story will unfurl better if you understand the time plans. At Muzaffarabad, the plan was to zip straight from Muzaffarabad to Srinagar. It would have been taken them less than 16 to 18 hours of driving time, even in the hill, to reach them. But here, the tribesmen stopped and they looted the town for 2 days. In that looting, the pillaging, it was disgusting and disgraceful. But remember, the tribesmen had been not paid. They had been told you can take what you like. That was their reward. They had come with trucks, so they looted the town, took the trucks back to the villages, put their booty back, the women and all back, and came back again. In this 2 days of time, the news of the remember at that time, Jammu sector में भी actions हो रहे थे. The news of the atrocities started trickling in towards Srinagar. And at Srinagar, it was Brigadier Rajinder Singh, the commander-in-chief of the Jammu and Kashmir state forces, who were told this is what happened. Nobody knew it. Intelligence was so bad in India and in Kashmir. So he, from the present-day location of Jackalai Center, he got all the people of the state forces, as many as you could muster, around a company's strength most, and they moved towards Uri. The first determined resistance took place on the Jhelum Bridge near Uri. Brigadier Rajinder fought them over a period of 48 hours. He delayed them in 3 delaying battles. And these, remember, look at the time are being saved. These 48 hours started giving us time to react. Because by then, it was now 26th of October. And on the 26th of October, Maharaja Hari Singh panicked. He asked the Indian government for help to save Kashmir. And Sardar Patel, a very savvy politician, said, "We can only help you if you agree to join the Indian Union." He delayed for a day more. And finally, on the 26th of October, he signed the instrument of accession in which Kashmir became part of the Indian Union. This was done at 4 in the evening, 26th October. And incidentally, the person who was there to sign the instrument of accession was also then Lieutenant Colonel Sam Manekshaw, who was there for the signature. And they say such was the panic there that Maharaja Hari Singh had actually told the ADC that tomorrow morning, if the Indian planes don't land, shoot me in my sleep. The very next day, at 6 in the morning, Dakotas took off from Palam airfield with one Sikh on board. They had with them the battery of 13th Field Regiment. Their contribution, unfortunately, forgotten, but one company was made up of Sikh soldiers, Sikh gunners of 13th Field Regiment who were used to boost up this battalion. As they were moving in this time, the raiders had crossed Uri. They had reached the town of Baramulla. Baramulla, those of you who have served there, just 40 kilometers from Srinagar. Straight road leading towards it. And here at Baramulla, directly opposite the headquarters of 19th Division, which is there right now, they stopped for 2 days to rape and loot the convent of Jesus and Mary, a hospital with nuns, a monastery, a nunnery, and that same rape and pillage, which was there in Muzaffarabad, continued in Baramulla. For 2 days, it continued. You know, if you read Akbar Khan, I've got his book with me. He writes so proudly. It was a town of 9,000 inhabitants. By the time we finished, there were less than 2,000 living. They burned the town, they raped the nuns, and that 2 day delay actually gave that time for the Indian army to land in Srinagar. At around 8 in the morning, at 6, the Dakota taken on Palam. At 8 in the morning, the first Dakotas landed at Srinagar. They had no way of knowing whether Srinagar is held by the raiders or by the Kashmiri forces. They were to have received a radio signal from ground. That signal did not come. But then Colonel Rai, commanding officer of 1/6, made that decision to land. That Dakota landed, and even when it landed, the raiders were in the hills. If you've been to Srinagar, you've seen it's in a bowl. The hills around the raiders were there. The aircraft landed, and the first battalion in waves reached Srinagar on 27th October. A day we celebrate as Infantry Day even now. I mean, not even now, we always will. One by one, the companies came. And Colonel Rai made a wonderful decision. I mean, the decision was he could have concentrated the battalion in Srinagar town. He had earlier, but it was 3 companies. But he chose to go beyond Srinagar and delay the raiders at Patan between Baramulla and Srinagar. 2 companies moved out there. The one company was left for the protection of the airfield, as the rest of the units started moving. 161 Infantry Brigade under then Brigadier LP Sen, Yogi Sen, as they called him, began landing in Srinagar. Every day the strength was big. Look at the race of time. 1 Kumaon came in, 4 Kumaon came in, 2 Rogers came in. One by one, the battalions were moving in, and one by one, the raiders were building up on all 4 sides of the town. They were dispersed in hills all around and closing in onto Srinagar. At Patan, the first battle between Indian troops and the raiders took place. This happened on the 29th of November. When from Baramulla they came, they were halted the road, and unfortunately in that battle, Colonel Rai was killed in action. But that 48-hour delay again gave time for the town to be built up. Slowly, the troops started moving in. The raiders were all around them. And then, on the third, their target at that time was the airfield. A group of around almost 500 raiders reached Bagdam, close to the airport if you have been to that area. And there, in an encounter, it was then Major Somnath Singh with a company of 4 Kumaon who held them back in a pitched battle lasting almost a full half a day or so. They were killed to the man, but he refused to withdraw. And he got the first PVC of the Indian Army in the Battle of Baghdad. This is 3rd November. The situation is still so critical. The raiders are around it, and now, like General Brigadier Bogi Sen mentions in his book, he says they were all around the town, I could not fight them in any concentrated place, and I had to concentrate them. So he resorted to a very good ruse. He withdrew the remnants of one Sikh and Kumar from Patan and withdrew them into Srinagar. It was largely a tactical move because Indian troops were so thinned out. But it opened the highway from Baramulla, Patan to Srinagar. And the raiders, seeing it, they began assembling them. They started moving in their trucks towards Srinagar. They halted at a place called Shalting. If you all remember, if you all have been in Srinagar, it is just a suburb of Srinagar now, just around, I think, 7 or 8 kilometers away, if not less, yeah, around 7 or 8 kilometers away. And at Shalting, they concentrated in their trucks. They had lined up trucks waiting to be loaded with booty. And 161 Brigade with one Kumaon, two Rajrif, and a Gurkha battalion, along with armored cars of 7th Cavalry, took up positions in a kind of a semi horseshoe around them. The armored tanks moved from behind them. They crossed a log bridge. There were 4 armored cars led by a Captain David of 7th Cavalry. They crossed that wooden bridge. When the raiders saw them, they began cheering because they thought Pakistani armored cars have come to help. And we began firing from all 4 sides. In that half-a-day carnage, around 700 of them were killed in that parking area. They were blocked on all 3 sides. Those who started withdrawing were chased by a Tempest and an aircraft who kept on massacring, strafing them, and it was a massacre like it should have been. The swines were bloody killed and butchered, and they got what they deserved. That is when the tide in this battle of Shalte was the first victory we got in the Srinagar sector. After that, we were on the ascendancy because from Shalten, that was 7, we continued moving back along the same route the raiders had come from. Went to Patan, captured it the same day, 7th November. Went to Baramulla, took it over the next day. Remember, the raiders had been weakened. They had lost about 700 killed. And all the transport they had got to for the loot, all their transport had been left behind. The heavy weapons were left behind. We were chasing them all the way from Baramulla up to Uri, which we captured. We could have continued in that momentum up to Domel and Muzaffarabad. We could have pushed them back to the start point. But unfortunately, around the 10th, around the 15th of November, we recaptured Uri on 13th, and on the 15th of November, they began intensifying the attack in the Jammu sector, south of Srinagar. Poonch was now kept under siege. Mirpur, Bimbar, Mandel, they had suffered. Mirpur was the town which suffered the most atrocities by these Pakistani swines. Poonch was placed under siege, and now it was a fear that had. Poonch is a large town, as you all know. If Poonch was captured, the same atrocities of Mirpur on a larger scale would have been committed there. So one Kumaon was infiltrated into the town under Lieutenant Colonel Pritam Singh. The town was under siege for a year. It was relieved. They built an airstrip. Supplies kept on coming in. Troops kept on coming in. But it was under siege for a year till next year, November. Further in the south, the enemy were attacking Naushera. They captured Jhangir. And the Indian Army's 50 Independent Para Brigade under Brigadier Muhammad Usman. And here also, gentlemen, there's a very interesting story within the story. When Brigadier Muhammad Usman was leading with such courage and determination, He was approached by the Pakistanis and said, "You are a Muslim. You join us. We shall make you the chief of the Pakistani army." And he gave the answer of any good Indian army officer. Basically, told them, "Fuck off." He was the man who led the recapture of Jahangir. In fact, Jahangir, he captured Naushera in a major battle in February 48. At that time, he had built up his brigade around Naushera. When they attacked, it was a 3-day long battle. But the raiders lost. We were in very good defensive positions. They actually launched conventional attacks in which we were the better off. We killed about 700 of them in the Battle of Naushera, which eased the pressure in the southern sector. But Jahangir, gentlemen, was still by the Pakis. Poonch was under siege. And another story which I must tell you because the story makes the battle come alive. Brigadier Usman had said, "I will never sleep on a cot till I recapture Jahangir." Unfortunately, he was killed in end May by an artillery shell which landed near his position. It was recaptured only much later. Poonch Poonch and Rajouri were recaptured by us sometime October and November 1948. And the LC, as you all know now, took on a contour of the LC around Uri, moving further south, in which almost around 20% remained with Pakistan. The rest of it is here with India. You know, there is a lot of talk that we could have gone and recaptured all the area which had been captured by the Pakistanis. Gentlemen, I am going to give you an objective military perspective in this. Most battles are either won very fast or they linger on interminably. When we attacked in the Srinagar sector, we reached Uri in a matter of 2 weeks. We recaptured the area. Beyond that, had we gone in that momentum, we would have taken it within another 2 weeks, maybe a month's time. We could have taken Muzaffarabad. By then, remember, year-long battle, the Pakistani had got they had got 7 divisions which had moved in there. They had occupied Muzaffarabad. They had got 11 battalions in that sector. We had only 14. Maybe it would have been a tall order. We could have made gains, but more or less a stalemate had been reached in the Jammu and Srinagar sector, and that stalemate translates to the LC which exists today. And I will put it as this way: the gains we got were sizable. We recaptured most of the areas we required. Poonch, Rajouri, all were recaptured, except for the Hajipir Bulge. Had that bulge been recaptured, that would have been a major gain which we would have got, which would have straightened out that area, and a lot of the infiltration problem would have been resolved. These were the actions that took place in the Srinagar and the Jammu sector. I'm putting it to you all in a nutshell because I know you have just started your preparation and I want the story to come alive to you. But one thing which perhaps many have often neglected is the actions in the northern areas, the area of Gilgit Baltistan. Look at this map, gentlemen. Look at this map. Have a good look at it. You can see marked, shaded in green, are the areas which have been occupied by Pakistan, Pak occupied Kashmir. Look at the Jammu sector, look at the Srinagar sector. They have moved in about 30, 40 kilometers, maybe a little deeper in some other areas in the south. Look at the northern areas. Virtually all of Gilgit Baltistan was taken. And it was taken because, same thing, when they attacked, we had no intelligence. We had got only one company of the Jammu and Kashmir state forces in Gilgit. They attacked in Gilgit Baltistan around February 1948. When they attacked there, remember that winter, when they attacked them, the Gilgit and Chitral scouts who were there, they revolted. They were assisted by a British officer, Major Peter Brown, who instigated them to join the Pakistan. All part of a large British plan, which I will cover in more informal discussions. Who instigated them? They captured Gilgit in Feb 48, virtually without a fight. They killed the entire Jammu and Kashmir State Forces garrison out there. And from there, they moved on towards Kardu. Can you see the map? You all can correlate. All of your military personnel will correlate. They moved towards Kardu, which they contacted around March, April. Skardu was invested. It was held by just two companies of then Jammu and Kashmir State Forces under Colonel Thapa, Sherjang Thapa. That garrison was cut off, no supplies, no ammunition, but it still held on till for almost 6 months. It fell on the 14th of August, 1948. And they massacred them to the man in Skardu. The Sikhs, the Hindus were massacred. But while the actions were taking place at Skardu, a column of the raiders had also moved ahead towards Leh. Can you see the map? And Leh was in the same situation as Skardu. It was held by two companies of Jammu and Kashmir State Forces and I think one company of the Gurkhas which were out there. It would have gone as well. But then, in a way, from Srinagar, there's only one way to go to Leh, through Zojila, Dras, Kargil on to Leh. One officer, Major Prithi Chand of two Dogras, he volunteered to take a detachment, a company-sent detachment with additional weapons and supplies, who marched from Srinagar to Leh, 400 kilometers. In a month, they marched out there and they reinforced them. Leh was reinforced, and Prithi Chand, he's one of the forgotten heroes of India. I think he also retired as a lieutenant colonel. But he was the peer. There were people like him who created a history with these great acts. He formed a militia of the local Ladakhis. Because remember, Buddhists were also persecuted. They created an airstrip. They revived a World War II airstrip at Leh, in which Dakotas landed. And the first Dakota landed there around May, in which General Thimaya, the DOC of the Srinagar division, was there, and Air Commodore Meher Baba, the head of the air detachment out there, he himself piloted it and landed on Leh. Two more companies of the Gurkhas, I forget which battalion was it. It was I think it was 2-5. Anyway, I forget they landed up there and they reinforced Leh. And with Leh being reinforced, the Pakis now all these actions are going concurrently. They did actually, you have to give them credit. They did a brilliant action. Instead of wasting time on Leh, they moved towards Zojila Pass. You can see it marked on the map. They moved to Zojila and they captured Zojila and they reached all the way till Sonmarg, 40 kilometers away from Srinagar, and occupied the heights around. When they captured Zojila, gentlemen, the road from Srinagar, Zojila, Dras, Kargil to Leh was blocked. They had reached Zojila. They had cut off all of Ladakh by this one pass. And with this Zojila pass today, as it exists today, and with this under their belt, now this is Sonmarg. Look at Sonmarg, how close it is. They reached Sonmarg itself. They captured Dras, they captured Kargil, and Leh was isolated by them. Everything was cut off. First one company was sent to reinforce Kardu. From Zojila, it was massacred at Kardu. I think it was two Jat. Another company, which went a month later to reinforce Leh, was again massacred. Because look at Zojila, gentlemen. This is how it exists. There's one road leading through this pass. These heights, they called it MMG Hill, Mukund Hill, and Chabutra. Three features on both sides of the road. It was held by around the equivalent of a battalion, an irregular battalion, I would say, of irregulars and the Pakistani forces. They had even got an anti-aircraft there. You have to clear Zojila, but how do you do it? General Thimaya launched an attack, a brigade attack, with 50 Independent Arab Brigade. They launched an attack which was repulsed. They launched a 4-battalion attack, almost a half a division attack, which was repulsed. Because you know how you have a narrow pass. The enemy were all in caves. They didn't have bunkers. They were in caves. They dug down. They were so well dug down. Artillery had no effect on them. Air had no effect on them. They had to just sit on the heights and keep on pouring down machine gun fire on the attackers. And with 2 attacks being failed, look at the map and understand it. Dras is captured, Kargil is captured, Leh is captured, Zojila is captured. Unless you open the doorway from Zojila to the left of Ladakh, you have lost everything. It was lost at that time. And the only way you can capture Zojila was use tanks. And to use tanks, gentlemen, 7th Light. I'll tell you a very interesting story which I heard from the horse's mouth itself. To capture tanks from Zojila, 7th Cavalry, which had actually done very well in Shalteng and Jhangar as well, with the armored car and Stuart light tanks, Lieutenant Colonel Sparrow Shergill, who later decided as Armored Division GOC commander, was told, will you be able to take your tanks up to Zojila? Gentlemen, Sparrow Shergill was studying in Jammu. This I got from his son in college there. And he and some of his friends decided they're going to go on a trek all the way to Zojila, Leh, and see those areas. And as a school, I'm talking about his experience as a college student, right? And they went to Zojila, he climbed up, he had crossed it, and finished his trek and came back. Now, when he was asked by General Thimaya, by General Karyappa himself, will you be able to take your tanks up to Zojila? Since he had seen the area, he said, I gave an immediate response, yes, I will take my tanks. And they prepared a squadron towards light tanks to be prepared to move from Aknur to Srinagar to Zojila. The tanks were taken with the turrets off. They were got down to Baltal. The road was made by the engineers. It's called the Thangaraj Road, all the way from Baltal to Zojila, so that tanks could move up there. And finally, it was called Operation Duck. Then Thimai said, "Hey, Duck sounds what a police weak sounding name. Let's get a more powerful name." He called it Operation Bison. These things make a lot of difference, gentlemen. And when they decided to attack around the 20th of October, they attacked. A snowstorm. They started moving up. A snowstorm began. Attack was postponed. 25th, it was postponed. Again, snow. No attack. The last day was the 1st of November. Beyond the snow would set in. And remember, gentlemen, the ceasefire was coming up. If that area pass was not captured, all this 31st December, the ceasefire was coming, all this have gone to Pakistan. On 1st November, when they were preparing for the attack, another snowstorm came. And they thought they'll have to cancel the attack, but Thimayar decided, let's go ahead. And the tanks were literally pushed up to the FUP. Infantry came behind them, and they attacked Zojila Pass in the middle of a raging snowstorm, with the tanks shooting up the infantry, shooting up the bunkers, infantry falling up from behind. On the top, 14, 15 Punjab were there on the heights above, so that none of them could escape. The battle actually took place, it just took 3 hours of fighting. And in 3 hours of fighting, a pass we had withstood for 6 months came into our hands. Almost all the Pakistanis were captured or killed. And with Zojila captured, the road now was open. It was again a race against time. Zojila was captured 1st of November. They continued ahead. They went to Dras, again held by the Pakis. They recaptured it around the, I think, the 15th of November. They recaptured it. Was Gurpuram. It was 15 Punjab which recaptured it on Gurpuram Day. They launched an attack on the holy day. They said, "Aaj we will take it." The Gurdwara there had been vandalized by the raiders. They cleaned it up. They had a langar, and then they moved again. That battalion, amongst the other battalions, did superbly well. They recaptured Kargil on the 23rd of November. And that same day, patrols from Leh had moved up, and they linked up and they rejoined. They relieved the isolation of Leh on the 23rd of November itself. Peak winter. Gentlemen, now look at it. 31st December, the ceasefire came in. We have recaptured an area lost over 6 months in 23 days. And had we not recaptured it, everything would have been lost. Our LC would have been at Sonamarg today. We would have been able to hold on to Kashmir had there been pressure from the east as well. With this, gentlemen, a lot of avenues opened up. We could, like they say, we could have continued offensive operations up to Skardu. We could have taken Skardu, yeah. Maybe even Gilgit. But it would have been taking the fighting into the next year of campaign. By reliving Leh, recapturing Zojila, most of the crucial areas of Ladakh came back into Indian hands. And by the time the ceasefire was announced on the 31st of December 1948, the line of control also came into being. You can see this in the Jammu sector, in the Kashmir sector, but the bulk of the losses took place in the northern areas, which we saved the critical areas because of the recapture of Zojila. And the legacy of the Kashmir War continues even after that. We all know it. The Kashmir War never ended. The Pakis never lost their obsession with Kashmir. 65, they launched another operation. 71, of course, we paid them back more than in their own coin by cutting the country into two. They had an insurgency. You had got the Siachen operations. We had got the 99 Kargil War. And we had an insurgency which has been just coming at the control now. I think, fingers crossed, touch wood, it's a sea change in the environment in Kashmir, right? But all this has taken place because of that 1.5 year long operation, which virtually saved Kashmir by the skin of a teeth. Just look at it. Had they not stopped to loot and rape at Baramulla for 48 hours, they would have reached Srinagar. Had Zojila not been captured, the whole area would have been gone. All of Ladakh would have been gone. So many imponderables shaped the issue. And it was the courage of the Indian infantry soldier, and the commanders. We are very fond of maligning ourselves, but if you look at the way they conducted some of the operations, they were done with a great deal of courage, a great deal of dash and valor. And gentlemen, I have tried to give you an overview, just a broad overview of this year and a half long war in three major sectors: Srinagar, Jammu, and the northern areas. This, I hope, will whet your appetite to read and study this campaign like a story and understand it, like I said, not just from the staff college point of view. You'll have to answer it from the staff college point of view, but understand it from the military point of view. It'll make you all better soldiers and better students of military history. Thank you. I have now come to the end of my talk. I'm open to inputs and discussions.
Yeah, you know what? Those of you watching it, please understand the entire campaign, which lasted nearly 1 year plus, uh, had three parts to it. One was the action in Srinagar, around Srinagar, to relieve Srinagar and push the infiltrators back up to uh, Muzaffarabad. I would say not Muzaffarabad, to Uri, a little beyond Uri. Uri is virtually today the LC. When this was happening, the Pakistanis came to the south and hit Poonch, Naushera, that line. So we had to react there. When we were in the process of stabilizing that, the action opened up in the north with, in the Leh sector. All three sectors were, one by one, uh, attempted, I wouldn't say attempted, were attacked
Address.
by Pakistan, addressed and attacked by Pakistan. You're talking of a time when we didn't have ammunition, we didn't have vehicles. The roads to, the Kashmir Valley were almost non-existent. Dirt tracks. Uh, the pass, Zojila pass itself was a kacha track almost. Everything was one way. Hardly any ability for us. And if you think this battle lasted 1.5 years, क्यों हुआ और क्यों नहीं गए हम? We didn't have the capability. Simply put, we didn't have the capability. Neither did Pakistan. In many times, Pakistan also could have done more, but neither did Pakistan. Uh, if you look at each place, at every place we had to stop on the cusp of complete victory. If we had taken Muzaffarabad, after going back beyond Uri, this entire story would have been different. Okay. Now, if we had gone beyond Jangad, when after Jangad was recaptured, right in the south, we took Naushera, then Jangad. Jangad is the next ridge, it's a projection. And if you had gone beyond Jangad, you would have been sitting on top of their Mangla Dam today with no water for Pakistan, right? So, a lot of things uh, could have been done, but we were talking of a nation which didn't have too much resources. And we had British CNCs, both sides, who would talk between each of them and then motivate the Indian officers and the Indian leadership, military leadership, as to what to do and not do, or the political leadership also what to do and not to do. So we were under tremendous constraints. On the other hand, the Pakistanis started disregarding the British ideas right from the beginning. They circumvented it the moment they started using all these Kabalis and tribals, all those Lashkars which they had formed. Now, as far as the northern sector is concerned, the Ladakh, Gilgit, Baltistan, that sector, what we recaptured itself is a marvel, because the entire story, if you heard what Colonel Ajay Singh was saying, was not lost after independence. That entire area was actually lost before independence. February 48, there was a revolt. 47. February 47, there was a revolt. And that revolt was instigated by a British officer. I think his name was Brown or
James
something like that.
Brown. James Brown.
James Brown, Major James Brown.
Yes.
Okay. And he instigated, and those are state forces. They were the state forces of the Maharaja. He instigated the state forces to revolt, and then he declared it as part of Pakistan. If ever in history you need to know on whose side UK was, you have to look at that revolt. And the way that British officer behaved and put the Pakistani flag there, even before independence came about, right? So he had subverted the whole thing, and we had lost that whole place. But for the Battle of Zojila, we would have been over. Leh wouldn't have been there. We wouldn't have been sitting in, Aksai Chin. Aksai Chin would have been, the Pakistanis and Chinese would have, happily traded or bartered the entire area and divided it to their each other's convenience. And we would be sitting south of Pir Panjal range. So the 1947-48 war, at one level, it was successful. At another level, it was unsuccessful. It was successful to have, uh, made inroads and got hold of Kashmir what it is today. It saved the Kashmiris. And the Kashmiris didn't want to be with Pakistan. And definitely after the rape and pillage at Baramulla and, you know, um what's that, Patan and
Muzaffarabad. Yes, yes.
Muzaffarabad, they didn't want to be with Pakistan. Okay. They wanted to be with India. They were completely with India. And uh, yet today, where they are, what the same people, it's a turn of history that those many of them for over 30 years were more for Pakistan. They were more for the same state which raped them. This is
Mhm.
the thing. And this is where I think we have lost that battle. We didn't lose the battle then. We lost it thereafter. Our politicians lost the entire area for us. Till is late. This is not connected with this thing, but I'm connecting whatever happened then to something in between and now. Till as late as 1971, right? 1971. The people of Jammu and Kashmir were with India completely. Completely. There were these hills on the, mm, outskirts of Srinagar in 71. There's a place called Basam Gully, and there are field firing ranges out there. And in those field firing ranges, if you go there, it's like Switzerland. Switzerland looks a cheap cousin there in front of that area. In those field firing ranges, the Pakistani Rangers, not a Pakistani special commando force had come, and they were from there, they were to descend down into Srinagar. The locals there came and told us कि भाई Pakistani वहां आ गए. We reacted, and so till as late as 71, the people of Kashmir were with us. How we lost Kashmir from 1971? We lost Kashmir from 1971 onwards, till of course, till recently. We are now winning it back. We have to win the people back. So the loss, the military loss was because India was a young state. We didn't have the capacity to take whatever we wanted back. But the political loss is something which we have to think of. A people who showed their loyalty to the Indian flag in 47-48, who showed their loyalty to the Indian flag in 65. After all, in 65 also the same thing almost got repeated, right? Of Gibraltar. And
Yes.
again in 71 it got repeated. And after that, how we lost this state is something for us to really think. Okay. And I'll do this. It is not a matter of how many people see it or not. It's no point in saying, वो साला समोसे वाले nationalists हैं जो बुरा भला बोलते हैं अबाउट इंडियन आर्मी एंड नेवी एंड एयरफोर्स टीवी में बैठ के थर्ड रेट फेलोस. ठीक है. You, they don't understand these things. The true India, the true Indian Army, the true Indian Air Force, and the true Indian Navy came through in building this nation and holding the nation what it is. It started here in 47, 48, the traditions. And then it came back in 65. Again, a bad situation we won. And in 71, where we created a nation. We have such fine military traditions. You must also know what a point which he probably overlooked or missed or it didn't come out. When one Sikh landed in uh, Srinagar with those three companies, these three companies went out and did whatever. One of the second, waves which came in brought in one battery of gunners.
13
There's
field.
a 13 field. And that battery men came and the guns had not yet come. And that battery
Fought as
became a
infantry.
company till and fought as infantry.
I mentioned that, sir.
Yeah, no. I'm highlighting it. They fought as infantry as part of one Sikh. And then the guns came and then the whole thing turned. So you have to understand. And you have to understand that we have done this airlift operations. The airlift operations twice in our history. The first time was here. And the second time we did it in Maldives recently. When I say recently, that's also not new. It's in 90s. Okay. Uh, just think, how many people does a Dakota carry? If you ever flown in a Dakota, it carries probably about 30, 35 people, not more. I don't remember. I don't know, Ajay, if you remember.
Around that much, about a platoon worth in a Dakota.
But one third. And if you go in a Dakota, कभी ऐसे उड़ता है, कभी नीचे आता है, कभी ऊपर जाता है, कभी नीचे आता है, वो उल्टी होता रहता है. I traveled in a Dakota when I was young. Okay. वो उसके पीछे एक छोटा सा पहिया होता था, सामने दो पहिए, पीछे एक छोटा पहिया होता था. One platoon goes. And in the first wave, 3 companies went in. 3 companies are 9 platoons. So you did, and plus some more, you did a air landing in hostile territory in 1947 with 9 to 10 Dakotas. And that was probably the entire air power of India. Okay. And your nearest air base would have been somewhere near Adampur or I don't know where it was. Not Adampur. Adampur में तो वैली में है, नीचे नीचे होगा कहीं जम्मू शम्मू के पास.
Jammu, probably.
Jammu. Okay. So we did that air landing operation. And then in Poonch, Poonch has a small airstrip. If you go ever to Poonch, you'll understand. And if you go to Poonch and stand at that airstrip and you see only mountains around. And that when the Poonch garrison was surrounded and it was under siege for 1 year, it was completely air maintained. Completely air maintained, this Poonch garrison. It was sustained by whatever could come in, and our planes used to land under enemy fire. Okay. And some farmers around used to still come through with some grain trains and all that. And everything else was by this thing. We did this kind of operation there. So you really have to understand, what this whole story is all about. ये ऐसी कहानी नहीं है ये. दो अजय सिंह सेड के कहानी की तरह उसको समझो, कहानी की तरह समझो. But the blood and guts which went behind this is something you have to really, if you've gone there, you'll understand. Okay, it is a battle at that point of time. The way they fought with what they had is hats off, just hats off. The number of people who were massacred, who died. Just think, how they those even their dead bodies who would have buried, who would have disposed them of. How do you handle those people who are wounded or soldiers? How would they get evacuated? What are the lessons you learn from that? The military lessons in this entire campaign are so huge. What about leadership? So many officers of us, brave officers, died. Each battle has had its own, great story. So I just thought we will put all this across to all of you. Uh, I know not many people have come because वो थर्ड रेट ट्रूडो के पीछे पड़े हैं. वो कनाडा में चार सरदार और बेवकूफों के साथ. That is more attractive today. But this is our history. ये हमारा खुद का कहानी है ये. Right? So I thought I'll put all this across. Uh, I've just added on to what Ajay has said. Ajay, if I've said anything wrong, please let me know.
No, 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 sir. Perfect.
Uh, okay, right? And we'll do more. In due course, I'll do the 65 operation also. In due course, we'll do the 71 operation also. People, you should understand what the Indian Army is capable of. Either a samosa or Dakkan log. I hope this puts the Dakkan on all those four samosas. Not four, five samosas. Four male samosas and one female samosa. Okay, right. So let me take some questions with your thing. Uh, Request again, sir. Please make a video on General Sagat Singh, the real hero of 1971. See, I don't mind making a thing on 71, what happened and all. Right? General Sagat Singh had, let me put it, two events which are important. One is the Natula
Nathula.
battle, okay? Natula, 67. And then the 71 war, the Northern Thrust. What I would like you to do is, I've done a video with General Kulkarni on the Natula campaign. Have a look at it. So you'll know we've spoken about General Sagat Singh there completely. And we'll talk about General Sagat Singh when we do the 71 operations. So it's not fair for me to just concentrate on a person because there's a larger issue of the army involved. But half of General Sagat Singh's exploits I've already done in that video.